what is the process that I think most college students will have to think about and go through with their parents this year?
Sure. So starting really in the senior year of high school, students, that's when they start to apply to the colleges that they're interested in attending. And so now's the time for the current high school seniors to think about which schools they're going to apply to. And it should start with a conversation with their parents or coaches or teachers or counselors to sort of narrow that list down to the list of schools that they would want to apply to and gather the information they need to start making their application.
Okay. So would this also apply to non-traditional students who are thinking about application to colleges and universities?
Sure. So there are many different pathways, many different kinds of institutions, and for students at all different levels and phases in their educational career. So when we think about non-traditional or post-traditional students, sometimes those are adult learners returning to school after maybe a period of time in the workforce, or students who never went to college but now decide that that's what they want to do. So typically most colleges and universities intake their students in the fall, but you can start college any semester that the university takes in a new enrollment. Sometimes that can be in the spring or in the summer.
So what's the process a student should go through from start to finish here for admissions?
So if you're looking at a typical high school student, what they would normally do is they would take an appropriate high school curriculum of courses. And if you're a student in South Carolina, the Commission on Higher Education has on their website a list of the recommended college preparatory curriculum that they expect students to take in order to be college ready. Most colleges and universities adhere to that, but there might be some variations. So you should check with the schools that you're interested in too, far enough in advance so that you can take the classes you need in high school to be ready for college. But in general, a good rigorous high school curriculum is the foundation for preparing for college. And you want to do well in those academic courses. Also, students need to take a standardized test, and they can take the SAT or the ACT. Either one are accepted by most colleges and universities. And they should take that at least once and maybe twice, or sometimes a third time, if they aren't happy with their score. And that'll give them an idea of the kinds of schools they might be competitive for. So write high school courses, a good strong GPA, and then take the SAT or the ACT. Those are the preparatory things you need to do. Once you've done those things, then you start making your application. You fill out the application to the schools that you'd like to consider attending.
Okay. Are most applications online, or do you fill them out and put them in the mail or drop by? Or
most applications are now online, and there are some common applications that many schools use the same version, like the Common App. That's one you'll hear of. There's another one called the Coalition App, which is relatively new. That's also, there are about 100 different colleges and universities that will take the Coalition App. And then schools do have their own online applications that you can fill out on their university websites as well.
So is the Coalition application one where if I fill it out, then I could apply to multiple checkbox and they go to various institutions?
That's the way it works for the Common App and for the Coalition App. When you fill out, most of the information you fill it out one time, and then you can indicate the colleges that you'd like to have that application sent to. So you can apply to multiple ones at the same time.
Should students be applying for a college that they're not sure if their scores will get in? I mean, should they shoot for pie in the sky, and how would you advise them?
So the admissions process is not always clear. And so sometimes you think you might be admitted, sometimes you might not, and each year competes against itself for a lot of schools, so it's very difficult to predict who's going to get admitted to what school. So we tell students you need to have options, and so you should apply to more than one school. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to be realistic about the kinds of schools that you would be eligible for, but it's a good idea to have some stretch goals out there as well. So I typically advise students to apply to at least 3. And students today are applying to more and more schools. They're being careful consumers, but 3, where you'd have one school that you're very confident you're going to get admitted to that school, then one that's sort of a solid school, and then maybe a stretch school that if you could get into that one, it might be a little bit of a outside chance, but a school that you'd like to go to. That's pretty common. But nowadays we're seeing students apply to 5 to 7 schools on average, whereas in the past might have been only 3. It's really up to the student. I think if you apply to more than 7 schools, you're probably going a little far, a little excessive there, maybe a little more homework and research on the front end to narrow that list down is a better idea. But you do want to give yourself some options.
Okay. And are there still fees to applications when you fill out those?
Yeah, there is a cost to apply. And the cost can vary from school to school, but usually it's somewhere in the range of $30 to as high as maybe even $100 per school. And it can get quite expensive. The more schools you apply to, the greater the fees you'll pay. And I would encourage students that are eligible for fee waivers to look into those as well. Students can obtain application fee waivers from their high school guidance counselor. There are several that are available out there that they can obtain, and universities honor that. So if a student can't afford to pay for the application fee, the fee waiver helps offset the cost.
If you had to advise students on 4 particular things to look for a good fit in order to go to college and where to find their right college, what would you advise them? What are your top 4 things that you would think about?
So the most important thing is the program of study. Does the school have what you want to study? Sometimes students don't know what they want to study, so that can be a tough question to answer if they're not quite sure yet. But if it's not clear to them, then they need to go to a school that has enough options that they think they could find their niche there. And if they don't know what that niche might be, that the school has the resources available to help them figure that out while they're there. But if you want to be an architect one day and the school you're attending doesn't offer architecture, then that's not a good fit. So you need to make sure you pick a place that has the degree program that you want to pursue. Another important thing is the cost of attendance. And this one can be tough to figure out sometimes because schools list their typical price, but they also offer scholarships and financial aid that make it much more affordable. So you have to dig a little deeper than what I would call the sticker price to figure out if the school is actually affordable. But you want to make sure you're going to a school that is reasonable, that you can afford, and that it has the financial aid that makes it affordable to you. So program of study and cost are probably the 2 biggest. Then you get into other areas that vary in importance to different students, like how far away from home it is, how big the school is, if it's a public school or a private school, what part of the country is it in. So that's where it really becomes more important for the student to know what's important to them when picking the schools that they're interested in.
Okay, good. Thank you. Do you mind sharing your contact information with us?
Sure. If someone would like to call the Office of Admissions and here at the University of South Carolina, our phone number is 803-777-7700. And they can call that number. They can also call 777-2001. And if they call that number, we can put them right through and talk with an admissions counselor, set up a visit. We love to have people come and see the university.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us this afternoon. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you for having me.